Hey guys, welcome back to part 4 of Japanese Kana They Don't Teach You at School. My name is Xiao. This part is all about Kana with diacritics, the two dot and the circle, to the side of a Kana. So their name are dakuten and handakuten. So in school you may have learned the names, but basically you would have learned the Kanas in this table. The only thing out of the ordinary in this table is the wu with dakuten, which indicates a consonant v, but it's getting used less and less these days. As to the unusual ones, the elephant in the room would be with dakuten. The first thing you need to understand about this kana is that it's not universally recognized by Japanese people. So according to this 2016 government survey on Japanese language, they do this every year, by the way, but they have different questions. So this is the last time they use this question. Anyways, this is a survey meant to be representative of Japanese people of all ages. And the question is, regarding expressions where you add diacritic marks where it's unusual, such as or ma, the results are in the blue, we have people who have never seen it. In the red, we have people who have seen it but never used it. And the yellow bar indicate the percentage of people who have actually used it. And as you can see, there are about 40% Japanese people said they have seen it. As a comparison, this figure is about 90% for emoji. So they are 1 in 10 Japanese people who have never seen an emoji, which is interesting if you think about it. But anyways, so what can we learn? It's certainly not that common, but still, half of Japanese people, almost half of Japanese people have seen it. And the other thing we can learn is it's not just one kana. It's more like a way to use dakuten. So it's more like a system with dakuten being I guess, the most common one. So how would you pronounce this kana? I guess a better question would be, what sound do Japanese people have in mind when they use these kana? My impression comes after watching a few videos, and if you want to watch them, links in the description. I also asked my Japanese friends, and I also kind of just looked at the context whenever this kana was used. So my impression of how to pronounce it was ah, 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 ah. So basically, it's a low and muddy sound. It's made by restricting the throat. And it's often part of moan or a yell. And it's the same rule for other kanas that usually doesn't come with dakuten. So again, it's a system. They often appear in whole sentences because it's not just about one kana or one sound. It's about how the entire sentence is being said. So in that sense, it's kind of similar to when you type in all caps or when you're cry typing in English. That's the closest example I was able to find. And that's much about it. So let's talk about other lesser known but still interesting kanas with diacritics now. These are basically kaki kuke ko with handakuten. They are pronounced nga, ni, ngu, nge, ngo. So basically the ng sound in the word king. This is a regional phenomenon, but it's very commonly heard in Japan, especially in the east or northeast, basically Kanto or Tohoku. And this only happened to gagi guge go, and that's why it's these kanas that's being used for a nasal sounds. The examples here are pronounced watashi ga kagi go. There are more rules to when this can happen. For example, it never happens in the beginning of a word, but it's kind of beyond the scope of this video. If you're interested, we have a link in the description, but it's in Japanese. And what you need to know about these characters is they are not part of everyday writing. They are still used today, but they are only used for teaching. So this is a very good example that demonstrates kanas are not completely phonetic, because otherwise you would just use gagi guge go. But in this case, gagi guge doesn't actually pronounce like that. And they can be also written with an n to gagi guge go in the front of them. Up next, we have what appears to be handakuten with la. The first thing I know is they are completely obsolete today. I've never seen them. I cannot find any modern usage of these kanas. What I was able to find, so that this picture you can see to the right is from more than 100 years ago, and it doesn't say how these kanas are used. So actually, I couldn't find any explanation that explain how these are used, but supposedly they are for differentiating loanwords with an L and those with an R. The Japanese people aren't able to tell with light or right. So in Japanese, they will all pronounce the same because Japanese people cannot pronounce the sound r. So technically, if there's a way to differentiate these loanwords, even though it's only in writing, it still helps, because sometimes the words are literally written the same way but have different meanings. It's too bad I couldn't find any proof this is true. So if you know more than I do, you please leave a comment. So up next, we have wu with handakuten. You might have learned Japanese words never begin with but that's not quite true. So as we can see to the right, we have a magazine cover, don't ask me which, showing the word umai. It's supposed to be umai, so delicious. This girl is eating ramen, so yeah, it makes sense. Basically, there's this phenomena in Japanese when you have a wu and when it's in beginning of a word, sometimes it can be pronounced So this is informal, but it's very common. And if you come to Japan, you're about to hear this once or twice, usually during a meal. But this usage, this kana is today obsolete. People just use today, as you can see to the right. As we come to the end of this video, I would like to note that what's shown in this video is only a portion of what was used in the past. So there are more to be found in the wild that's just waiting for in historical documents. Basically, in the past, as you can see to the right, handakuten was used to spell sounds in dialects of Japanese and foreign languages. So it's basically when they don't have the sound, they just find a kana that sounds similar and add a handakuten to it and say, okay, this stands for that sound. And that's it. And my best guess is this lasted until IPA was commonplace and you no longer need to use a kana system. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'm glad to finally revive my Kana series after a year, as things finally settle down with my new job here in Tokyo. I'm happy to see this video end up coming out better than my expectations, and in the next video, we will go back in history and examine the origin and the standardization of kana, and what came to be known today as hentai kana, paving the way for delving even deeper. So thanks for watching this video, and as they say in my hometown, don't forget to be awesome.